Hey there, interwebs. I hope you're all doing well. And I'm going to apologize right up front because this is going to be a little bit of a rant video because I'm sitting here on Sunday night having just a few hours ago done my House of the Dragon review for the latest episode, posted up, and I've been seeing a lot of comments on that video, as well as some places like Twitter where I posted a few of my thoughts as well on the episode, as well as just reflecting on a lot of the things that I've been feeling over the past few weeks related to my reviews of House of the Dragon, as well as other shows, as well as just reflecting on YouTube as a platform that I'm a creator on and things that I'm seeing on my other channel and when I do video essays over there. It's just been making me feel something that I just need to discuss and talk about and really kind of rant about, because it's really been something on my mind that has been really hurting me and getting me upset and angry, and it's not a feeling that I wish to feel about things that I try to create out of joy. You know, I do talk about hard things and topics, but I do this out of joy, and I have not been feeling that in some cases, and I want to share why. So, as many of you know, I've been discussing a lot of TV shows on this channel and reviewing them a lot lately. I've been doing Star Wars Andor, Star Trek Lower Decks, She-Hulk, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, and House of the Dragon. And while Star Trek Lower Decks and Star Wars Andor, even, surprisingly, have been generally just joyous things to talk about, because I've been overall very positive on them, when it comes to She-Hulk, Rings of Power, and House of the Dragon, it's been interesting to talk about those shows from just a critic level, because they're shows that I have very disparate and different feelings about. You know, She-Hulk, I think, is just a mediocre, okay show that, you know, I have, you know, varying degrees of feelings on from episode to episode. Like, oh, this one's good, this one's bad, but generally it's all just kind of flat okay on the whole. House of the Dragon show, I think, is really, really good, but I have so many specific critiques around its treatment of LGBTQ characters, around women characters, but I still think it's a great written show that I just have very frustrating issues with that just touch upon, like, problematic portrayals of LGBTQ people in media. And then Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, I think, is a very structurally messy show that I kind of do just enjoy despite the messiness of it. You know, it's not a 10 out of 10 show by any means. But as a critic, that's sort of stuff that I love talking about. I love getting into the meat of these discussions and having these, like, nuanced conversations about these works of art. Like, I love doing that. Even art that makes me frustrated, like House of the Dragon, I love having that conversation because it's a fascinating one to discuss. That's why I got into doing this job, you know, on YouTube, and why I went to film school, because I love having nuanced criticisms of media. I love getting into the minutia of it and talking about it. But I'm doing this job on YouTube, and while most of you in this community are so amazing and wonderful, and I adore you, please know that I do adore each and every one of you. This is also a platform that has fostered really toxic and hyperbolic conversations around media. And I know when I say the word toxic, that's already going to be a trigger for some people, but, you know, if you look up reviews on specifically like Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, but any of these shows really, you'll find that there's always these, like, over-the-top takes of, like, Lord of the Rings has destroyed Tolkien, and it's ruined it, and it was the worst battle ever. Like, you can see those just in the thumbnails if you look it up right now. And so when I do reviews of these things, you know, YouTube creates this algorithm space, and people look up stuff, and they go expecting these sort of, like, heightened reactions to things. And when it doesn't fit that reaction, they tend to want to essentialize my reaction as one of those things. So when I'm like, I liked Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, you know, I didn't think it was a 10 out of 10, but I generally enjoyed it. People will say, like, Jessie loves this show. And I get comments saying, you love this show? Ugh, it's such a piece of shit. How could you like such a terrible thing? Oh, you're so dumb. Like, I literally get people calling me dumb and an idiot every single week, saying, like, how could you like this trash piece of, like, token defiling work? And it's just like, why? Why are you coming at me like that? I'm just talking about a show and trying to be a nuanced way. And it hurts to see that. And you know what? It's one random comment. It's whatever, you know, here and there. But then you get that on, like, everything. It's always a fight. And every single piece of your words in a review are picked apart and like taken this way or that way, and people will always find some way to be angry about it. And that hurts. And I think most of all it hurts when it comes to like House of the Dragon specifically. Because when I talk about House of the Dragon, I have to, as a queer critic, as an LGBTQ person, I have to come at that show from that perspective because that's who I am. I'm not going to sit here and try and give you the straight reading of the show because I'm not straight, and I'm going to like come at it from my perspective. And I'll talk about the totality of the show. Yes, I want to. That's a piece of that's critic, but I also have to give you my perspective. And my perspective on that show is I have problems with the way it's portrayed gay characters. It's defined gay characters by being gay, and then it's, you know, spoiler, it's killed them off in the same episode that introduced them, or shift them off to the gay farm upstate to probably never be heard from again, or at least probably not for the rest of the season. And you know, it's always, whenever I bring that up and try to have this conversation, and I literally say in the review, it's not the worst show ever. I don't hate the show. I actually really like it. I think it's one of the best shows on TV right now, but I have these problems with it. People, I get comments saying like, why do you always want to make about you? Oh, you're just talking about the gay characters, complaining about it, and this is a perfect episode of television, and you just want to complain about gay characters? Bye. Ugh. And then I look at it, and because these echo chambers of needing to have everything be at like a 10 or a 1 all the time. You know, I look at the reaction to those videos, and I know the dislike button doesn't show you, but I can still see the dislike to like ratio, and like you just see the videos just go all the way down. And it just feels like a qualifier on my worth as a person to try and discuss these issues. And I just can't not have that perspective. And I look at like other reviews and listen to other reviews on different channels that people have. And they're like, they'll talk about the episodes and they'll have criticisms and critiques, the same ones that I have, but they won't talk about the nuances of the gay characters. And that's fine because they're not gay critics. I mean, it'd be nice to hear that perspective if they did the research to talk about that. But I also understand that being a blind spot and not something they're interested in. But I have to, because that's who I am and that's what I know about, and that's what I feel I have to talk about. Because these issues of LGBTQ representation are so emotionally fraught all the time for gay people talking about them, for people coming into those conversations who like either have already vilified gay people in our cultural discourse today, or just don't want to hear about gay stuff. They just like, I don't want to hear about that. I want to just hear about the ending explained videos. Like, what's this House of the Dragon Easter egg here? Or what does that mean? That's the conversation that they want. And so when they hear a person talking about gay stuff, like, why do you have to talk about that? That's not what I'm here for. When that type of conversation is always at a level of like something being a problem for somebody, or it's a difficult conversation, or it's a conversation that's been vilified because gay people you should hate them in their society, or it's always a sensitive subject, I guess is the point that I'm getting at. It is always a sensitive subject. But I can't not talk about it. And so it's frustrating for me as someone who wants to talk about media that I love, because I do love House of the Dragon, and I do love She-Hulk, and I do love Lord of the Rings of Power, to just always have these conversations be so heightened. And then when I talk about things that I have to talk about because that's who I am, it's always sensitive and always angry, or you got it wrong, or even attacking me as a queer trans person, as a critic. And you know, it's difficult, and it's been getting to me lately, especially because of all the reviews that I do. It's weird, to be honest with all of you, because, you know, when I do videos about transphobia on my main channel, I make videos about, like, Matt Walsh, a known transphobe, and I break those down. If you don't follow that other channel, that's what I do on that other channel. I talk about, like, really harmful trans issues and hate, and, like, really get into, like literal, like, hate movements against LGBTQ people. I talk about that stuff, and that I expect the hate, you know? And I'm somewhat armored from that, because it's like, those people are just going to dehumanize me or whatever. And the people who want to hear this stuff, they'll have nuanced criticism of my works for sure. I don't mean to ever think I'm perfect in those discussions, but like, they'll hear me out on those things. And then the people who are just transphobic will be idiots. You know, they'll say, you'll never be a woman. It's like, I don't care. I've heard that a billion times. You're not hurting me by saying anything that I haven't heard a billion times before. Yeah, I'm kind of in armor to it. And so it's weird to me that I get much more upset at media criticism And I think it's because, like, this is the thing that, like, I don't get joy out of doing deep dives on transphobia. I do it because I'm good at it, and I think it's helpful, and I hope that it means stuff to people, and I like is the wrong word, but, like, I get fulfillment out of doing that work. I do this here because I want to take joy in the nerdy things I love. I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd, and I love being a nerd. But I hate that being a trans nerd, a woman nerd, a bisexual nerd means that, like, if I talk about things from my perspective, I have to be jumping into a minefield every time. I don't just get to be a nerd. You know? I could do those videos. I could do the 10 Easter eggs in Star Trek Lower Decks that you haven't seen before. Or, you know, here's the background, the ending explained to House of the Dragon. I'm not dismissing that content. I watch it. I made it for different outlets before, you know? I know how much work goes into that. I'm not trying to underplay it, but it's like... But it's not what I want to do. I want to do stuff from my perspective, but I'm not allowed to without it being a fight every time. And I know I'm just saying what so many, you know, women, gay, LGBTQ, people of color, nerds, and people coming into any field have ever felt, you know? That we always have to do this fight. That we don't just get to be nerds. We always have to be the woman nerd, the trans nerd, you know? And I'm not a person of color, but, like, people of color also experience that, you know? Whereas, I'll just say it, like, straight dudes, and I'm not trying to hate on you, but, like, straight dudes can just make that content, and if they miss talking about gay people, well, that's, you know, they're not gay, so they don't have to. You know, it's fine if they screw that up, you know? Because they don't have to, you know, it's okay. That's not their purview. But I have to talk about the straight people stuff, and also the gay stuff. But because I also have to talk about the gay stuff, then I jump into that minefield. And if I don't talk about the gay stuff, well, then I'm diminishing my perspective as a creator. I'm falsifying myself, or I'm cutting off a unique thing that I think that my voice adds to this conversation, just so I don't have to wear that armor all the time. And it's frustrating because I see it from the other end too. I mean, one of the reasons I was angry is the wrong word, frustrated at House of the Dragon was because I saw literally the showrunner of House of the Dragon, who is a straight dude, say like, oh, I didn't really know about the bury your gays trope. I had heard of it, but I'm writing my own story. And I'm like, bury your gays is like the most common trope that you shouldn't do. Like that, I don't want to say shouldn't do. You can do a bury your gays trope, but there's ways to do it. But, like, if you're going to do it, it's the first thing you should be aware of when writing about LGBTQ characters. It's, like, the first thing you learn in, like, queer theory or film theory. And it just showcases to me as a writer, he didn't want to learn about it. He didn't want to do the basic research to learn about that trope. Consider it, like, some Tumblr thing. As opposed to, like, actual queer film theory that exists. That, like, intelligent people who have written endless discourses about it and studied it for years have written about. He just dismisses like a Tumblr thing in the interview. And that's fine. He can be in a big time magazine saying stuff like that. Because he doesn't need to. He's just, that's not his perspective. He can make this big show. But gay people, we have to. And as someone who wants to do that job one day, you know, and I've been open about that fact. I'm working behind the scenes to do some of that stuff. You know, I want to be a writer on TV. I'm trying to do that work. I'm working on a project out to do that stuff. And I just, it hurts to know that that's the battle that I'm always going to have to fight. And it's a battle, and don't get me wrong, it's not a battle that I'm not ready to fight, you know? I want, you know, it's a battle that's always going to be there in my life, and I want to fight it. But it does tire you out. It does frustrate you. It does hurt you. And it sucks that I have to fight through that hurt sometimes. And, you know, I think making this video is just me expressing it. It's not going to go away. I'm not going to change it with this video. I'm not going to end all that with this video. It's not going to happen. And, you know, I want to keep fighting that fight. But I also need to express that it hurts. It hurts sometimes. So, it's okay. Don't worry. I will find the joy. There is always joy. But I also don't want to suffer in silence about it. I wanted to share it because I think it needs to be shared. And I'll be honest with you, I know there are other creators that I care about, friends of mine, who are going through the same feeling right now, where we have so much joy about this stuff, and yet we have to constantly fight this fight. Okay. Let's all take a breath together. Let's remember that at the very least, Star Trek Lower Decks is a shining beacon of joy, and Tendi is my favorite character of all time. Remember Tendi. Live for Tendi. We live for Tendi here. Be Tendi. Legitimately, I'm crying at the fact of Tendi. I love that girl so much. Oh my god. Remember Tendi. I don't know why that's where I'm at right now. I love Tendi. At least I have her to bring me joy. I'm gonna end there. Thank you for listening to my rant, everybody. I hope you all live long and prosper.